Hi, welcome to Sad to Savage. My name is Nishay, and I'm here with my support group and friends.
Hi, I'm Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Coach Yoli.
Hello, I'm Candace.
Hi, I'm Joy.
And today we're going to talk to you guys about love and relationships. And really, what's love got to do with it? How do we stay healthy? Or how do we know when a relationship is unhealthy? Join us. Well, today, ladies, we're going to talk about what's love got to do with it, right? Seriously. Well, I have to say that this is one of my favorite subjects to talk about is relationships, and that's probably because it's taken me forever, literally, to manifest one. I've personally been single pretty much all my life. I had boyfriends and in middle school and high school, well, that's like puppy love, right? That's baby love. You're just starting to get to know who you are a little bit more. So I didn't start developing a relationship until just last year. That's when I just finally manifested my first adult boyfriend.
Flirty, 30 and thriving.
Flirty, 30 and thriving. Exactly. Welcome to this is what you got looking forward to. But during this time, I was definitely invested already in the relationship before we even physically got into it. I from a spiritual perspective, so maybe not everybody's from there, but from a spiritual point of view, I could feel his energy. I could really revel in what he was going to be like. And he really is a lot like what I thought he was going to be like. Mm-hmm. But I had to really practice a lot of self-love and a lot of self-care during these times, being by myself and really learning what it's like to be by myself and that I can care for me. You know what I mean? And then what is that like and different when adding in a partner? Mm-hmm. You know? Mm-hmm. And to me, like I said, I think it's different when you spent the past 10 years of your life and into your adult years compared to when you're a teenager or even in your 20s and you're going through your relationships, because you get to learn about the other person. You get to learn about what it's like to be in a relationship. So this is actually my first time actually learning all this kind of stuff, and I've been super excited. It's been a hell of a roller coaster, but I think I've been okay. I think it's been pretty much what I expected.
Well, it's probably a little bit healthier. Most of us have a serious relationship in our 20s. I think the rest of us did, but I don't know how many of them were good. You know what I mean? To be 30 and have a serious relationship start when you're emotionally, mentally ready for it. Yeah. That's a very different perspective, because most people don't wait until they're 30 to have a serious relationship. You know, most people jump in too soon, and we learn the hard way.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I didn't try to wait either. I'm cute. I'm just saying.
Here we are.
But I feel very grateful because of the lessons that I learned from this perspective. Like I said, the thing and the main more thing, the relationship that you need to have is with yourself. You can have that relationship with yourself, then you can love somebody else. Because that's the problem. You can't love somebody else until you love you.
Exactly.
And we see that in relationships where codependency is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're the flip side of it, Joy, where she waited till she was 30 to have a serious relationship, and you were already having babies as a teenager. Right?
I was a baby having babies, exactly.
Yeah. And starting your family and life. Right?
Exactly. And that's where the codependency was really, really the biggest lesson starting out with my relationship. So my then husband, I was married at 19 and had my first child at 19. And literally I was popping babies back to back to back to back.
Really?
So I have a 25-year-old, 22-year-old, 21-year-old, and a 19-year-old.
Okay.
So I literally had Irish twins in between. Wow. Yeah, seriously, right? And so for me, I was pretty much a people pleaser already, starting with my childhood wounds, right? And then going into a marriage at such a young age, I was so immature. I was so ripe for, the pretty much abusive, controlling type of relationship.
You almost didn't know that wasn't normal.
No, exactly. To me, that control and that aggressive personality or that energy felt to me as oh, this is love. This is how you show that person love. So when you're young and you're in that relationship and you're just you're a baby and you don't know any better, you don't know self-love, you don't know self-awareness. Having self-awareness is when you start 30, right? You've gone through your teens, your early 20s, you bump into a few walls and you scrape a few
pick
knees
yourself up. And...
Exactly. But with me, I didn't do the dating because, I was raised by pretty much a very protective mom, Catholic upbringing. And so it's like kissing is a no-no, relationships are no-no, you know. And if you do get in a relationship, it's marriage. You know?
Yeah.
And so for me, I've always had that like mentality of just, this is what you do, you know, and then being a people pleaser on top of that. It's like, what can I do to make you happy?
Yeah.
Right? You want a family, you want this, you want me to cook, you want me to clean, you want me to work, you want me to go to school. So I was totally codependent on someone else to tell me how to live my life and how to be and how to act, and this is my livelihood. This is supposed to be my happiness, right? So for me, it started from the very get-go, a totally dysfunctional codependent relationship. So now, divorced, I've been divorced over 11 years and still single. So I've dated here and there like you, but nothing really very serious. And
which
I
might have been good because you're working on the codependent stuff throughout
Yes,
that long
exactly.
first marriage where
Right.
you've got to
Yes,
get out of those habits, right?
Yes,
Right.
first episode, slow learner, remember that? You know? Yeah, so, you know, at 44, and here I am, like, I'm dating like a 20-year-old. I'm
Figuring out what
literally-
you like, what
Yes,
you don't like, based
what
on
I
what
don't
you
like.
want, not
Yes.
what they tell you to want or what
Yes.
society tells you to want.
Yes, and so I'm come to a place to where, yes, I've had relationships where, you know, there was a lot of karmic lessons.
Yeah.
There was a lot of soul lessons that were learned between two parties. And I feel that, like, for me, being a healer, you know, they say you got to heal your shit first.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
In order to heal others. But that part of the journey is to learn and to grow, and so that you can help others.
Yeah, because you
And
can't help people
through
heal
the
if you don't know
experience.
what they've been through.
Exactly.
It's really hard to, yeah.
Because I can almost guarantee you there's a demographic for me, women like me, who's been married, you know, very long time, and has raised a family, and then divorce, and then going back to the dating scene, right?
Right.
So,
You guys have
Mhm.
stories on that too.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Mine was a little bit different where I can relate with codependency because I was young. You know, I met my ex when I was 17.
Yeah.
And me and my ex-husband were together for almost 10 years, but he already had a family. He was like 9 years older than me. So he had 3 kids, he had a previous marriage. And so when I was 18 and we decided to really start dating, you know, exclusively, all of a sudden I had 3 kids. You know, like it was all at once, you know?
Instant
So, I
family.
mean, you had them pretty quick, but mine was literally in one day.
Yeah.
And I'm 18, so it's like you have 3 kids at 18, and they were pretty young, you know, all under the age of 5, under the age of 4. So, you know, 3 car seats, 3 boosters, you know, 3
Ugh.
kids at the store. It was
Yeah.
just for an 18-year-old. I was like, but again, what society tells you is you married him. So you're the mom and you step up and you do these motherly duties and you help take care of the kids. And like I was working
Yeah.
full time and I switched to part time so that I could, because I didn't have a career yet and he did. So I'd stay home with the kids on the weekend, and it makes you really codependent.
Yes.
And you don't realize it. And I think it's because you want to try to fit into these roles. I don't know if they're gender roles or I don't know what they are that society
Yes.
kind of makes you feel like you have to fill. But I learned throughout that time that, especially, you know, after the divorce, I think I've been divorced now 4 years. And I realized year 1, wow, the last 10 years I didn't put myself, like the things I wanted to do, the things that I thought I would want, like if someone had asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, I hadn't done any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I got the divorce and now I wasn't responsible for 3 kids, it was like, what do you want to do? Like, okay, do you want to perform? Do you want to
Yes.
dance? Do you
Who
wanna,
are you?
All these things that you gave up on so long ago.
Yes.
I was like, why did I get the dance degree if I'm not going to use it? And because you wanted to, it was your passion. But you know, in my eyes, like, oh, I should take that marketing job because that's going to be a better example for my daughters. And when they come to work with me, you know, rather than seeing me be a go-go at a nightclub, you know, now I'm a marketing manager in the nightclub, you know? And I just thought, oh, this will be a better decision. But it wasn't for me. It was so I could be a good role model for somebody else. And it's not that people shouldn't want to be good role models for their kids. That's not what I'm saying. But when you literally start to put your needs on the back burner,
Yes.
it does turn
Yeah.
into a resentment or
Yeah.
coulda, woulda, shoulda when you get older. And do
Right.
you really want to live that way?
I feel like women in general, more feminine energy take on that role of like self-sacrificing martyr
Right.
in a relationship.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right?
I
It's
agree.
like, my husband, for me, I felt like I did that a lot. Not even before I was asked or expected to, I just automatically took on that role.
Right.
Right. What about you, Yoli?
And like
I would say for me, I've been by myself now about 7.5 years. I got married when I was in my, I guess you'd say, mid-20s. But for me, it's different. I have a very different spin on mine. So I married my childhood
like sweetheart.
sweetheart.
Yeah.
That's a
I was
beautiful story.
14, he was 16, and we dated for a good amount of time, so it wasn't like we rushed into anything. We dated for about 10 years, and then we got married. So when we got married, it was beautiful because this was something two friends who were best friends wanted to do.
Right.
But we ended up going our separate ways after some time because of infidelity. But the thing is, and I tell people this all the time, I'm a very forgiving person, so I can forgive infidelity. But my thing is, if you are a habitual offender and you keep doing it over and over again,
Yes.
Where are we going to draw the line? Like,
Yes.
when are you going to
Because
deal with
then
your stuff?
I become like the idiot
Yeah.
in the picture. So
Right.
we ended on a very quiet kind of situation. Like after a while, he came back to me in a conversation on the phone and he apologized. He apologized for everything. And I said to him too, I was like, listen, if I did something knowingly or unknowingly to hurt you during the time we were together, I apologize as well. We had like a 4-hour conversation till like 4 a.m.
I respect that. I think that's really healthy.
Yeah,
Because
it
like
was-
me and my ex,
it
that
was
was not the
closure.
case.
It was it was like the weirdest thing, but I wished him the best and he moved on with his life. And he always said that he always loved me, but I just felt like he didn't know how to love me the way I wanted to be loved. But he's to this day, I haven't heard from him in a while,
Yes.
but I really feel like he's still a great human.
Right.
Yes.
So my spin is a little different because a lot of times people are like, you should hate him for everything he put you through. But I was like, but I don't.
Right.
So does that make me a bad person? Because
Well, I think it's a thing, like you said, you had to realize that he just couldn't love you the way that you
that I
wanted to be loved.
Yeah.
And some people don't understand that expectation of what you think is love is your expectation of it, not the reality of what love is. Most people, honestly, most of us, probably us sitting at the table too, don't really know what genuine unconditional love is. Most of us on this planet have no idea.
Right.
So when we sit there and try to put these titles of like what love is and what a loving partner would do, that's just based on our perspective, not
True.
reality.
Yeah.
And if you can
And
realize
the
that,
moment.
Yeah.
yes, that's true too. It's
What you
timing.
need.
Yeah.
Because we all love differently.
Mhm.
Right.
We all
What's your love
receive
language?
love
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
Yes. There's like you said, like the general like guidelines of like love languages and all that. But we all come from like, cultural, socioeconomical,
Right.
Right.
racial.
Because growing up with a single
you know-
mom, that was why I was so adamant and having generations of single women in my family.
Yeah.
I was
You
so
were like, not me.
adamant
Yeah.
about having a relationship.
Yeah.
Like the only reflection and example that I had growing up was my aunt and my uncle. They still to this day are married, and like they're like the only reflection that I have of that genuine, like you said, unconditional, forever love, like what that looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
So
not as common.
how is your marriage going?
Well, for me, it was funny because I got married. I've been married almost 5 years now. And I watched all of my friends as young women have babies
Yes.
and have a ton of relationships. And I kind of learned my lessons through them. Like, I would see when they would be unhappy because they couldn't do something because they had their children. And I thought to myself, like, oh, well, I don't want that to happen to me. So I just waited and I kept waiting. And I'd have relationships. But whenever it got too serious, I was like, we're done. And I would
Yeah.
just kind of get rid of people because I didn't want to get to that point where I felt like I could ruin my life. I wanted to do all the things in the world before I got to
Yes.
that point.
Right.
And then I realized, like, well, I'm not finding a good relationship because I'm picking the wrong people.
Yes.
And I felt like, okay, my picker is broken.
Yeah.
So literally all of my relationships
Mine
didn't
was
work
really
out.
broken.
Yeah. Until I had a friend say, hey, you should talk to this guy. He's a friend of mine. He's newly single. He's a nice guy, except he's in Afghanistan. So when I met my husband, he was deployed overseas. And so we started as almost like a pen pal
Pen
friendship.
pals.
And so we got to know
Yeah.
everything about each other
That's perfect.
Before you even
before
met.
we even met for
Mhm.
months. so I can make a decision like, do I like him as a person even?
Yeah.
Do
Right.
I like the things he stands for? Before there's any romantic connection, I got to figure that out. And so when I met him, I was like, well, if he smells good, it's perfect.
It's stinky, I'll be happy.
We're still married, so
Yeah.
it's not stinky. But it works out because, you know, I think my mom had said that, like, well, what if he doesn't smell good? And I'm like, well, then I'll just not date him. You
Right.
know? And when I met him, I was like, okay, he smells fine. He's
Yeah. He showers.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
showers.
That physical attraction part, though, is key in what you're saying.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think, too, that's a part of how we base our relationships on, is that physical connection, which is, it's beyond the physical.
Mhm.
It's a mental, emotional, and a spiritual
Absolutely.
relationship.
Yes.
You know? And
I heard something, and I don't know if it was like a show, a documentary, I don't know. But someone had said, like, you want to be able 5, 10, 20 years down the road to look at the person next to you in the car and be like, they're a dope ass person.
Exactly.
Lust, love, sex, body,
Yeah.
all that stuff aside, do you think they're cool? Like,
Yeah.
you know, do you want to hang out with them?
Exactly.
If not, ugh, that's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
You
It
know?
is rough.
I think that's what we can decide, right? Or maybe some of the deciphers with what's toxic and what's healthy is like, can you be with them for 20 plus years and think
Yeah.
that they're cool?
Exactly.
You know?
You know, can you do the daily mundane things, grocery shopping, this, that, the other, and think, okay, I could do this. There's some compatibility.
Also, kind of, are
Absolutely.
you accepting of that person? That person's going to grow and evolve,
Mhm.
and you're going to grow and evolve. And do you have the mental capacity to do that together and to follow
Yes.
each other down different paths? Because
Right.
I think a lot of people get married in the moment, they're great for each other.
Yes.
But as they
Yeah.
start to develop, they're each taking different paths.
Right.
And you can do that, I think. I think you should absolutely take different paths as long as you can support each other on those paths.
You kind of
Yeah,
have
you
to
know?
be conscious in that change
Yeah.
and growth, and that's hard for
Yeah.
people to be conscious in that.
And,
There's
and
a-
aware
yeah.
of it and verbally telling each other what's going on, because you can't just go into this secret path
And
and
start
not tell
changing.
anyone. Yeah, not say, hey, I think I want to
Exactly.
take up volleyball.
Right.
You know, like
Not
you.
mention
My
it.
job isn't making me happy. Maybe I want to go back to school.
Yes.
All these things that you're
Yeah.
thinking in your head, like talk to your partner about, and yeah, see if they're thinking the same thing. Well, you both can't go back to school at the same time, and now you guys are gonna have right? Just little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I'm experiencing that literally right now in my current relationship because, like I said, coming from the different spectrum where I had nothing but time. So I was like, okay, since I'm single, what am I going to do with myself? The main thing I need to be focusing on is my career and like what I love to do, what my passions are, you know? So that's what I've been focused on. And then you come in. So then I'm here, I'm like, drive my little car, you know?
Yeah.
And you come in and I'm like, well, I'm already on this pathway. I already have this mindset. I already have this. And so now we have to create this new dynamic of what is it that you want? What is it that I want? And how can we mesh it and mutualize it? How do we make
Yes.
it work for both of us, you know?
Right. Which is
And-
cool that you're able to do it as like conscious adults, like
Right.
right, because you're both mature, you're both in your 30s now, like you're both able to make these decisions about career, about family, like on a more mature scale,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And there is some sort of study, I don't remember who did it, I'll have to look it up and put it in the comments, but there's a study where it was saying that the human brain, especially like your emotional intelligence, really doesn't fully develop till the age 28. 28 kept
Oh,
popping
wow.
up. And so a lot of people who marry their high school sweethearts or get married before then, they'll have some sort of like dire change in their out frame of life, their outlook on life, and then they wonder like how their marriage went wrong. Or it's not necessarily always the other person. Sometimes it's just you change and your brain
Yes.
wasn't fully developed, and now that
It's
you
developed.
are, you know, and those are things that we can't necessarily help. And so even in studies, they'll say that's why so many marriages end in divorce when they get married so young, because you're not really who you are until 28
Yes.
I can kind of see that because I don't feel like I was at a point.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%
I'm not
for
saying
me,
that I
yeah.
I could have done that, you know, and I might have made it through. I might have not, but I
Yeah.
feel like around 28 is kind of when I started to feel like I knew who I was.
Yeah.
And what
know?
you wanted from another person. Like sometimes you just date to do it, you
Mhm.
know, when you're learning.
Yeah,
And then at
yeah.
some point you start to get more and more specific. And then at the point where like someone could be so nice and you're like, listen, you are so nice.
So nice.
But I know from my heart of hearts, this is not what I'm looking for.
Right.
And just know I'm not even going to go on the first 3 dates with you to be as a kind gesture. I'm just going to say no because I know what I want now.
Exactly.
And it's a powerful place to be.
I
Exactly.
wish we could just label them practice boyfriends. You know, like you knew
Practice
these
marriages.
Yeah,
But isn't that what dating is?
Trial
Yeah,
runs.
Really, trial run. Exactly. Don't need a few of those.
I feel like that's what the dating pool is. It's like you get to have that flexibility. You get to be whoever you want to be, and just kind of see, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. I like you tall, I like you short. But like,
Exactly.
you know, you
Yeah.
can kind of like, yeah, exactly, figure out what is essential for you.
Because that's the healthy part, right? Those are the things that you need to do to have the healthy, non-toxic
Yeah.
relationship,
Right.
to be secure in yourself and sound in your choices
Because that's not going anywhere,
when you
right?
make up your mind.
Yes.
Because I'll be the first person to be honest about it. You know, my marriage was toxic. I met him when I was super young. I had this whole different idea of what love was and what relationships were. And at some point, we just got way too codependent. And I was so young when I met him. I don't even think I knew the word codependency when we were
Right.
married. So it wouldn't even cross my mind that that was like an issue. And we
Exactly.
did marriage counseling, and we did, they taught us about love languages and this, that, and the other. But no one was ever like, hey, does he have friends outside of work in the household? No. Does he have a life outside of like work in the household? No. He comes home and the wife and the kids are pretty much it for him. Okay, that's not healthy. He needs outside friends. He needs a masculine outlet. And so do you, right? Like, I gave up dancing. I gave up performing. I wasn't in dance studios. I wasn't taking classes, rehearsing, meeting people. And when I was in college, I had kids. So I was out. I would take my class and leave to go home and pick them up or go to the daycare center or whatever. And I wasn't making friends. So I had no other outlet.
Yeah.
So it's like for, over the 10 years, it just got more and more codependent.
Right.
And yeah, it's great that you can spend all day with your partner, but is that necessarily what's healthy?
Not at all.
Right?
You lose yourself.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So like I had to really, that was toxic. And sitting outside of it through the divorce, I can see certain things like codependency being toxic. I don't know. You mentioned codependency specifically.
Yes.
I don't know. It doesn't sound like that was the case with you
My
and your ex.
husband was
But
always
infidelity.
gone.
Let's talk
Always
about
gone.
let's just emphasize on a small note the infidelity, not yours specifically, but
Right.
just in general. What we talked about. What's another reason why relationships end in
Why you
divorce?
stray.
Majority of them is because people feel, I'm not happy with myself. My partner's not making me happy. So let me go have happy fun with somebody else.
And like that's going to magically change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or this is another major one, when you are elevating and you are growing, which was my case.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to such heights in my career, in
Yes.
my sport. He just didn't understand. He said to me, "You left me behind. You chose that over me."
But that's relationships with friends also.
Yeah.
Like
We'll say the same thing.
pretty
Mhm.
much you outgrow
Yeah.
certain groups of friends or people,
Especially if
in
they are
your
seeing
life.
it as like a you left me.
Yeah.
Or a you turned on me or you forgot about me, because in
Yeah.
a sense it's like someone else's success is never your downfall. Someone else's success is never your failure.
Right.
And so me being a successful, bodybuilder and winning these titles and competing in these things, I mean, I guess I could see to an extent how it might be a little demasculating or a little intimidating when the partner isn't doing anything, right?
Right.
But if you're not trying and you're not going at the depths to make an effort at something, you're not going to have as high of a reward. And if you
Exactly.
can't support your partner in it,
Mhm.
that says a lot.
It does.
It says a lot, and it also gives you something to think about when your partner says, "Choose
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They shouldn't be making you
Exactly.
choose.
me
Your
over
cheerleader.
this," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"But you were my biggest cheerleader
Supporter.
from the beginning,
And
and then
now-
you just like disappeared on me."
But I feel like that's the boomerang effect, right? It goes back to the relationship you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And nobody would be feeling jealous or any kind of animosity if they had a relationship with themselves
Healthy.
to know what happiness is like for themselves.
Yeah.
Because anytime that me and my babe, we get into a fight or just in anything in general, I ask myself, am I making myself happy? Is this coming from a happiness choice of Nishay? Because like, he can't make you happy. I have to remind myself, that person can't make you happy. They can't help you. They can influence that, but you have to make yourself happy. So what are the things that you're doing to make yourself happy? And then I start going down my list and making myself happy. Because I think that you need to have your back.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yes,
mean? I think that,
absolutely.
especially when you're going through a relationship with another person and you guys are against the wall with each other, you need to have that self-talk and confidence in yourself that you can talk yourself out of
Yeah.
whatever you're going through.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because you can't realistically, nor is it fair to put all the expectations on your partner.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
Yeah.
Your partner can't expect you to be superwoman and super mom and super girlfriend or super athlete. You know what I
Whatever
mean?
the case
And
may
this
be.
and that on top of that,
And then on top of everything we have on you,
Yes.
now I want you to come take care of me.
Yes, exactly. So yes, absolutely. When you go into a relationship, it's not too it's two whole people coming together, you know.
Look at your
It's
wholeness
like,
before
yeah.
you start fighting with the other person about their
Yes.
wholeness. Like,
So that saying that
That's a
goes,
great
I'm
idea.
looking for my better half needs to go out the door.
yeah.
Because you're not, you know what I'm saying?
There is no half.
There's no
Yeah,
half.
there is no half. So, and like you said, and healthy relationships are about getting to know each other on a deeper level, not just meeting the checklist. It's like, oh, you're 6 foot tall, you got
Right.
brown hair, you
Right.
got green
Poetry,
eyes,
you do whatever.
you play the guitar. You know what I mean? It's like
That's infatuation.
yeah. It's like, have
Yeah,
you
it's a
healed
love
your childhood
situation.
wounds? What are your fears? What are your regrets? You know.
What are your future wants? Like,
Yeah, what are
future
your needs?
goals?
What do you like to do on a Saturday? Will we like doing the same things on a Saturday together? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you gotta dig deeper.
Yeah.
You gotta go deeper into the ocean and you know, kind of like tread away from the shallow waters.
Yeah, because the shallow things are what get people. That's the
Yeah.
world
Yeah,
tells you. Like, looks are
absolutely.
important. And don't get me wrong. Yes, attraction
Yes.
plays a vital part in relationships, but 10 years down the road, that attraction's gone. If you think they're cool or not, never gonna go away, right?
Right. And that's, I think we're facing a lot of that today with Tinder, Bumble,
Oh,
and
yeah. The swipe
swipe
culture.
right, swipe, exactly, the swipe culture, you know, because we're going based off of physicalities,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So, like, we understand, you know, the things that we've done in our relationships. Getting through the toxic relationships, though, what is like one key thing that you think helped you get out of that? You know, what helped you even with your husband now? What made you notice it wasn't a toxic relationship? Like, you know, just things that we could give to our viewers to help them.
For me, what I noticed was all of the other, I would perform in shows, and all of the other boyfriends would come to go get drunk at the bar. And he was the one that carried my stuff in, carried my stuff out, made sure that, did I need food? He was just as invested in my success as I was invested in his success. And I think if you can look at each other and say, hey, you're my partner. Like, I actually feel like you're my partner. You're here to, you know, help
Right.
me, and I'm going to help you when it's your day. When you can do that for each other, I think that helps build, you know, at least happiness in the household.
And it really does show, like, I see a lot of performers and a lot of their significant others will help them, you know, in the show. I mean, as a performer, you carry a lot of stuff, costumes,
Yes.
shoes,
Yes.
props, you
Yeah.
need help.
I've
But,
seen that, yeah.
you know, you really do notice, like, if the doorman at the venue is gone, you know, her husband is the doorman. You know, like, whatever she needs to find success in her troupe and her company, like, he's got
He
her
steps
back.
up. Yeah.
And you really do see it. And I
Yeah.
think that is a crucial part to
beautiful.
relationships and
Yeah.
not being mad about it, right? Like,
Right.
not, yeah.
Forgiveness, right?
Forgiveness, I would say that's a big one. So, like, right now, I'm currently by myself, which I date me. And people think that's
I
crazy.
court me every day.
But I court me, and I get asked a lot of times, why aren't you dating? Why don't you have a boyfriend? Why aren't you married? And I'm like, listen, I love me.
Nobody treats you
I
better
treat
than
you
you.
really well.
Yeah.
And when they do,
So-
I'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like if I give a
100%.
guy any of my time, I'm not going by a checklist. I'm going off of life experience.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't make me feel a certain way in my presence in the first 5 minutes of me meeting you,
Yes.
I don't even deal with you.
Yes.
Mhm.
I politely, walk
That's
away.
smart.
And I move on with life because at my age was just a 40+ club. You want to make sure you're
I'm
not
in that club.
wasting your time, ladies. Life is short. You want to be around good people who
Yeah.
make you feel great, who make you feel awesome, who lift you up.
And
So-
who aren't treating you less than you treat yourself. That kind of seems like a
Exactly.
common sense
Exactly.
goal, but we
Yes.
don't think of it that
You want to
way.
treat yourself like a princess or a queen. Like, you deserve that. Like, a lot of times I take myself out on dates.
Yes.
I'll sit at the bar and I'm like, before COVID, pre-COVID, have my little wine and my
By
little
yourself
dinner.
and-
And they're like, are you meeting somebody? I'm like, yeah, me. Hello, I'm fabulous. Look at me.
Yeah.
So, just love on you more. And then, until you get to that time and you meet that right guy and
Yes.
it's all good, then, grow together. Communicate, people. If I can't say anything else, communicate.
Communication.
I would agree in that. I think that communication and codependency kind of go hand in hand, and that was a lesson I had to learn in my relationships. And so, going through the divorce, being single, I had to start communicating with myself, which was that meditation, the self-reflection, especially when you're hurt, right? Like, a breakup is a great time to do this. And for me, sitting through those hard moments and being able to say, yes, this sucks, but it is where where it is where you is. It is where you are.
It is where you is.
It is where you is, girl.
Yes.
Live with
I
it,
like that.
but don't stay here,
Don't
right?
stay.
Like
Don't stay.
yeah, you have to go through and reflect. So for codependency, for me, I realized, it was so easy for me to become codependent with my husband because I had codependent tendencies as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a child, me being codependent, it was really easy because, I had multiple men in my life after my dad, who raised me besides my biological dad. And, my dad and my adopted dad were both in the Marines. We moved a lot. It was just really easy for me to attach to other people because that was the only security I felt because I had no stable home, we moved all the time. My friends changed every couple of years. So to attach to, especially the men in my life, like my stepdad or just other people, it made me feel secure in something. And I think that's how it got so easy for me to latch onto my ex-husband so quick. Even though, I very much thought of myself as an independent woman, I had to reflect on my childhood, the childhood wounds, the childhood traumas that made it so easy for me to get into those habits as an adult and then fix it before I got too far ahead.
Right.
That was really big for me, just reflecting on the things I go through. And you don't necessarily have to have a bad childhood to have childhood trauma. It's
True.
And I wanted to touch on that because it kind of go boomerang. Sorry, I like that word. Boomerang back to what Yoli was saying about forgiveness, or just in general. I was saying like we just need to highlight forgiveness because self-love or loving somebody else, and it comes from forgiveness. You know what I mean?
Yes.
All the trauma that we're talking about and the toxicity, it comes from someone forgiving. You were starting
Of
with
yourself
of
or of other
of the
people.
others. Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. Because if you hold that space in your heart, you're not going to be able to allow the healthier relationship to come in. If you're holding on to resentment, or you're holding on to, you did this, or my ex-husband did this to me, and then you start judging or holding that against all of the male population,
It's like you're
right?
generalizing.
Exactly. And then being a people pleaser with the codependency with me on the flip coin with you, Candace, is that I learned that, it is not my responsibility to take care of that other person. I am responsible for me.
And they should know that they're
Yes.
responsible for
Yeah,
them.
I am not, it is not my job to carry their pain, their trauma, their weight,
You want to be
their
there.
problem.
You want to,
You want to be
help when you can,
supportive.
but-
Absolutely, you want to be supportive. So I needed to learn balance with being selfless.
Yeah.
I was too
Selfish.
selfless.
almost. Yeah, you had
Yeah.
to be a little more
I
selfish.
had to be more selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I needed to learn to be more selfish.
Yes.
Right? And so with the codependency, you're giving 110% of you to everybody else. I have a lot of energy, I feel like, and so I'm always like, oh, my cup is still full. Here, I can give you some more. I can give you some
Until
more.
one day.
Yeah. It's like
feel
then
you
you're
on that.
burning.
Why am I
out.
so tired?
And I'm like,
feel you
and
on
you're
that.
resenting people because
Yep.
it's not being reciprocated,
Yep.
and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then you're going
Yep.
after emotionally unavailable people, and just a whole gamut of issues.
Never ending loophole if you don't
Right?
deal with it
Mhm.
internally.
Exactly. It just keeps becoming a bigger, it's how they say shit keeps rolling downhill.
Yeah, that snowball keeps going.
Yeah, it keeps going
does.
bigger and messier and nastier.
So figure out your stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Figure it out.
Exactly. Find your happiness first. Go with the flow of what you love, and then manifest the whole being of another whole being. Well, that's a wrap, and thank you so much for joining us today here on Sad to Savage. And we'd like to ask you, how do you keep your relationships healthy? How do you know when they're toxic? Please leave a comment below. And if you really enjoy and love our channel, please like and subscribe and continue to follow us. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye. Beautiful.
Yay!